Welcome back to the Adventures of the Monad, which will look at life, the universe, and everything. My name is Kazim Kamal Ur-Rahim. In this series, I ask the question, where do we come from, who are we, and where are we going? I post one presentation a week. Please subscribe to my website and hit the bell icon for notifications of future videos. You can also leave comments and join in forum discussions on my website. I ended my last presentation by looking at the theory of rays. I mentioned that every primary atom entering the universe was given one of 7 possible orientations. Call it a spin or a color if you like. This orientation influences the basic character of the development of the monad as it develops its consciousness. It starts by being potentially conscious. It goes on to being passively conscious, then actively conscious, and finally self-conscious. Although a monad may have one particular orientation over the course of its evolution, it comes to experience all 6 of the other rays' influences. Although there are 7 rays, they are not all created equal. 3, the primary rays, influence directly the characteristics of the remaining 4 rays. I wish now to look at these influences in greater detail. I previously described how a snowflake can represent a number of ray influences within its single structure. The relationship between the rays can be presented through another analogy. If you look at the color circles, think of each color as a ray. You can see that the 7 rays are formed from just 3 primary colors. Where the circles overlap, you get 4 more colors. Now let's overlay a ray principle to each color. Let's look at how each principle interacts with another, where it overlaps to form a 3rd principle. Where all 3 primary colors, stroke principles, overlap, you get pure white. This ray is the ray of harmony. Rays 1, 2, and 3 are primary rays because they are unmixed with any other color. Rays 4, 5, 6, and 7 are known as secondary rays. This same relationship can be viewed as a table of relationships. The primary rays are numbered by their attributes. It can be seen from the equation that 4, harmony, is a function of 1, will, plus 2, love, wisdom, plus 3, intelligent activity. This makes sense because if all the 3 principal energies are in balance, then you achieve harmony. In the case of 5, knowledge, it is only the 3rd ray aspect of intelligence and the 2nd ray aspect of wisdom that go to make it up. Again, wisdom, if it is backed up by intelligence, means you can really come to know something. 6, devotion, is a function of adding 2, love, to 1, power, but does not include 1, will, or 2, wisdom. This is why devotion can often lead to cruelty. 7, control, is a function of 1, will, and 3, activity. Activity by itself does not lead to control. You have to apply your will to bring that activity into manageable boundaries. Take time to look at these combinations. They can be found on my website. Just like the Holy Trinity of energy, motion, consciousness, and matter, rays and how they combine are the fundamental tools an esotericist uses to unlock any situation they are studying. You will often hear in conversation that a person has a 1st ray personality or a 5th ray mental body. Do you know this for certain? Well, from what I have already told you, if we do, then we have reached enlightenment. If this is not the case, then we are just stabbing wildly in the dark, guided only by our ignorance and propensity to equate traits and habits of a persona to a possible arrangement of their ray configurations. Remember back to the snowflake analogy. If we have 4 envelopes of incarnation, I am excluding the physical body as this is not a principle, then we have 4 envelopes. These are the etheric, the emotional, the mental, and the persona. Each one of these can be attuned to a different ray. These ray combinations are not static and change from incarnation to incarnation. Why? This allows the monad to experience the influences of various rays in each one of its envelopes. This allows it to better understand the permutations and combinations that are possible in any one of its envelopes. These 4 ray combinations link back to the causal body. That itself is functioning on a particular ray. Just to make matters even more complicated, the monad, on the subplane 43-1, will also have an orientation that was fixed at the time it entered into the universe. Do you get it now? This is a complicated business. Oh, and as an aside, although there are 7 possible rays that can influence us, only 5 seem to be in operation at any time on this planet. Even then, it is not that clear-cut, as rays don't just switch on and off, they fade in and out. So at the present time, the 6th ray of devotion has been very active for the last 2,000 years. If you look at the religions of today, they are all very devotional. This ray is now phasing out, and the 7th ray of control, also known as a ray of ceremonial magic, is beginning to phase in. This bodes well for bringing some sanity to people's emotions and lives in general. So, now let's look at the 7 rays in more detail. They stream down into our world and follow a complex series of cycles that range from minutes to millions of years. The most famous of these is the cyclical change associated with the zodiac. We all have different personalities, abilities, and interests in life. Some are considered inherited traits from our genetic makeup, others from the environment we are exposed to throughout our lives. No 2 people are ever the same, as we all have different life experiences. The 7 basic characteristics found in the rays can be presented in an infinite number of combinations and proportions. As an example, a person may have a 2nd ray monad, a 7th ray soul, and a 5th ray persona. Within a persona, each subtle body can also have different subtypes, as already discussed. The type of persona we have changes from life to life so as to ensure we achieve balanced development. The rays 1, 3, 5, and 7 influence the envelope they are affecting in such a way as to foster the development of objectivity. The emphasis of these rays is to help the monad develop its intellect. Rays 2, 4, and 6 foster our subjective abilities. You could say our right brain function, and this develops our emotions. Rays 1, 4, and 5 specifically help develop our mental abilities, while rays 2 and 6 develop our emotional abilities. Rays 3 and 7 help us develop our physical lives. Remember, I said this is not an easy topic to master. Yes, you can get a general gist, but don't go thinking you have the keys to unlocking the universe just yet. The 7 rays, just to make matters more exciting, have slightly different effects depending on which plane of matter they are actually operating on. For this reason, I am now going to list how each ray affects human nature in our physical world. I will start with 1. Willpower. First ray people are strong-willed, focused, decisive, competitive, determined, and unemotional. They are often self-centered, loners, judgmental, or can even be destructive. If the possession of a strong will is balanced with love and compassion from the second ray, such individuals can truly be great. If, on the other hand, they have egotistical tendencies and these are not controlled, they will become tyrannical megalomaniacs. Typical professions followed by a personality with a first-rate temperament are leaders, governors, explorers, and athletes. Now I am sure you can quickly draw up a list of individuals who fit this description. But remember, we are dealing with 4 envelopes here, 5 if you include the causal body. So in reality, where is the first-ray influence having its biggest effect? Or could it be that a combination of other rays end up presenting themselves to the world as a first-ray type? You see, it is not easy. That won't stop you speculating anyway. 2. Love wisdom. Generally speaking, second-ray people serve humanity. They focus on their relationship with others, be it romantic, friendly, or professional. This is what defines who they are. It is fair to say the second-rate types are less selfish and materialistic than most. They put the needs of others ahead of their own. They tend to be insightful, making good teachers, but have a tendency to be imprecise. There is a need for them to balance their soft nature with resolve. They need to learn to be more focused and courageous. Typical professions include teachers, healers, counselors, gardeners, and nurses. It may interest you to know that the Bodhisattva, aka the Christ, is the head of the second ray in the solar system. 3. Intelligent activity. A personality functioning on the third ray tends to be intelligent, practical, pragmatic, and skillful. They have a tendency to do everything in their life for the love of it or the thrill of it. Money is not their main driver, neither is power or fame. They are workaholics and can be devious, manipulative, and insensitive. If you gave them some advice, it would be to slow down their lives and develop feelings and appreciation for the simpler things in life. Typical professions could be an entrepreneur, bankers, investors, philosophers, mathematicians, and theoretical scientists. Note the word theoretical. They are not the practical type, but they do understand complexity. Remember that I am just talking about the manifestation of the third ray aspect on the physical plane in the characteristics of a personality. The third ray is a primary ray, and at the solar systemic as well as at the planetary level is one of the main movers and shakers of everything that happens in our lives and environment. 4. Harmony. Fourth ray people are creative and intuitive. They understand themselves and others on an emotional level, but their own lives are often a roller coaster of stress and agony. A longer title for the fourth ray is Harmony Through Conflict. You get the picture now. Fourth ray types can be unfocused dreamers, easily distracted and indecisive in their lives and affairs. They need to develop willpower and rationality to balance their emotional nature. They cannot complain that they do not have this built into their DNA. As you saw from the previous table, the fourth ray of harmony is composed in equal measure of the first, second, and third primary rays. So all the ingredients are there. They just have to be blended to actually create harmony, not just fantasies about it. Typical professions are artists, musicians, actors, designers, animal lovers, and hippies. 5. Knowledge. When we get to the fifth ray, we are back on the objective series of numbers 1, 3, 5, and 7. Fifth ray people are mentally focused. They are logical and analytical, with their minds seeking to understand everything. They can also be imaginative, intuitive, and creative problem solvers. They are tireless in their pursuit of knowledge, but there is a danger of an over-identification with the intellect. This can leave them out of touch with other people and their emotions. This can lead to being insensitive, opinionated, and arrogant about their beliefs. They need to develop a balance between their head and their heart. Fifth ray knowledge is a combination of the intelligence aspect of the third ray and the wisdom aspect of the second ray. It is by adding the love aspect of the second ray that the undoubted abilities of the fifth ray really impact the society they function in. Typical professions suited to the fifth ray type are scientists, inventors, engineers, researchers, detectives, and computer geeks. 6. Devotion. As I have already mentioned, we have been living under the influence of the sixth ray at a planetary level, but how does that ray affect individuals? Those that are under the influence of the sixth ray are strongly devoted to something they passionately believe in. The two most likely variants are God and good causes. If they are overly dedicated to causes, they can become seriously unhappy. They have a marked tendency to only see things from their own perspective and can become fanatical. This can lead to the unfortunate consequence that they force their ideas on others and try to get them to accept their beliefs. Spanish Inquisition, anyone? The sixth ray type needs to develop rationality to tame their over-passionate nature. Let's look at the subcomponents of the sixth ray. They are love. That's all well and good. And there is power. This is when things start to come unstuck. If wisdom was added to the mix, things would calm down a lot, and such ray types would be instrumental in bringing about great peace on our planet. So what are the occupational choices of the sixth ray type? Religious devotees would be the obvious choice. Crusaders would be another, literally and metaphorically. Idealists, if you could consider that a profession, along with activists. Others often found in this area are carers and writers. And now we come to the last ray, 7, control. A seventh ray type is a perfectionist. This is why the title control is given to this ray. But order could be just as easily used. So, a seventh ray person needs to be organized and in control of things, or they are not happy bunnies. They thrive on order and doing things in the right way, usually with formality and ritualistic ceremony. This is why an alternative title for the seventh ray could be ceremonial magic. They have an eye for detail and can be very creative. However, they can become easily obsessed with endless organization, making them inflexible, bureaucratic, and boring. So what aspects of the primary rays combine to give us this boring person? The primary rays are 1 and 3, but only taking the will aspect from the first ray and the activity aspect from the third. So what you need to add to the mix is some intelligence to see the wood from the trees and not get bogged down in too much detail. Typical professions for a seventh ray type could be a manager, administrators, planners, architect, and soldiers. The Masonic movement focuses very much on the seventh ray with all their ceremonial magic and attention to protocol. In the same way, drill sergeants are obsessed with polished buttons. I want to flag here that in esoterics, rays 4, 5, 6, and 7 are considered all to be subsets of ray 3. This may seem odd, as some of these rays are composed of one of the other primary rays, if not both. I leave you to meditate on that conundrum. The important take-home from this presentation is that everything in existence functions under the influence of one of these 7 ray energies. Even aspects of existence that are primarily energy, motion, consciousness, or matter are still one of the 7 types. Why? Well, all there is in the universe are 1 atoms, the monad. As each one of these tiny atoms enters the universe from the antiverse, it is given an orientation under one of these 7 rays that are in fact emanations from supremely high monads functioning on the first plane of matter. To knit this all together at the end of our walk through the worlds surrounding this planet, I present a diagram that links the 7 ray energies to our chakras, our triad chains, and the 7 planes of matter. Notice how each ray links to a chakra. The first ray to the crown chakra, the highest in our envelopes. The 7th ray to the base chakra, where you certainly want order. Also notice that the navel chakra, which is number 3, as it is the 3rd in the series, is linked to the 6th ray, while the sacral chakra is linked to knowledge. The brow chakra, which sits below the crown in our envelopes, is located in the middle of the table, linked to the 4th ray of harmony. The lines emphasize the natural pathways of energy that are followed as a monad progresses up the chakra ladder during its evolution through the 4th, the human kingdom. Another useful takeaway is the linkage of each ray aspect to the attributes associated with each chakra. Compare ray energies to permanent triad atoms and molecules. It is informative to recognize which triadic levels are linked to which ray energies. Passage through the triads should lead to the mastering of that attribute. That is the theory anyway. While located in our 49-1 physical atom, clearly the 7th ray of order and control is vital if we are to take charge of our lives in any great measure. When we move our focus into the emotional envelope and locate ourselves in the 48-1 permanent atom, we are working with our emotional consciousness. It is no surprise that the 6th ray of devotion is the active influence at this stage. This is not to say that every person has a 6th ray emotional body, far from it. It is just that the emotional body is in the same relative position of the 6th place in our scheme of 7, as the 6th ray is. If you just so happen to be resonating with the 6th ray in this envelope, you know you are going to be feeling the full force of this ray energy. The 5th ray of knowledge links into our mental consciousness. We are now functioning in our 47-4 permanent molecule. The 5th ray is focused on concrete and practical ideas, not abstract ones. This all makes perfect sense. The 4th ray of harmony is not linked to an atom or molecule, but to a structure that contains all 3 of the primary attributes. These attributes repeat themselves at all 4 levels of the causal lotus petals. See my previous presentation on the causal lotus to get a clearer picture of what I am saying. The 3rd ray is linked to the 47-1 permanent atom. When you take your 3rd initiation, your brain activity not only contains elements of the 5th ray, which major on objective concrete thought, but now the 3rd ray is adding not objective but abstract thought. The position of the monad is now located on the 2nd triad, but at the matter end of it. It is always to the right in the triadic structure, with consciousness in the center and will energy to the left. You see this clearly as you progress to the 2nd ray of love wisdom. Here you are in the 46-1 permanent atom, located in the middle of the triad. Finally, you get to the 1st ray, and now you are centered in your 45-4 permanent molecule at the highest level of your 2nd triad. The last column in the table shows the pattern of 7 as it relates to the solar planes, but this could also apply to the 7 cosmic planes. As I said, it is worthwhile contemplating the information that is presented in this diagram. It links together a number of themes we have been discussing throughout this series of presentations. In this series of presentations, we have looked at the worlds that surround our planet. These are the bodies of our planetary logos. In my next series of presentations, I go on to look at the 5 envelopes that constitute the bodies of humanity. If you wish to read a transcript of the presentation or leave comments, links to my website are in the description box below. Thank you.